Welcome to Take the Lead Radio with Dr. Diane Hamilton, where she interviews some of the most successful leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, and other individuals who will inspire you to take the lead in your career and personal life. And now, here is Dr. Diane Hamilton.
I am here with Nick Nanton, who is a four-time Emmy Award-winning director and producer. Nick is known as the top agent to celebrity experts around the world for his role in developing and marketing business and professional experts through personal branding, media, marketing, and PR. Nick is recognized as the nation's leading expert on personal branding at Fast Company's magazine's expert blogger on the subject and lectures regularly on the topic at major universities around the world. His book, Celebrity Branding You, while an easy and informative read, has also been used as a textbook at the university level. Nick, you are a fascinating guy. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you know, J.P. Sears was on my show recently and mentioned you. And then I started looking at your bio. I mean, you have worked with, on TV shows and co-authored books. I mean, with people like President George H.W. Bush, Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield. I mean, the list of these people with whom you've worked is pretty impressive. So I'm very interested in finding out how you got to that level. I watched a couple of your Brian Tracy interviews and things that you had out there, but if you can share some of your background of what got you to this point, I think it would be really interesting for the listeners.
Yeah, what got me here, I think, is probably a big lesson too. So I started out in music. I still am a songwriter. I write a lot of country music in Nashville. I have a publishing deal up there for writing music. And when I started playing guitar at 6. I started songwriting at 16. Put up my first record at 18, which is still about 800 copies under my parents' bed because I didn't know how to market them. And now that I do know how to market, I'm very glad they're staying under my parents' bed. But here's the thing: when I got into music, and I was driven as a kid. I mean, I had some businesses, I did some other things, and I wanted to be in the music business. And we lived in a suburb of Orlando, and my parents, were immigrants. They came from Barbados. We moved here when I was 1, but my family's been in the islands for 300 years. Came as Welsh pirates in the 1600s, so they didn't know anybody in the music business, and so I was trying to figure it out. So I did what we still a lot of us do today. I mean, we didn't. We sort of had America Online back then, maybe, but there certainly wasn't the internet as we know it now. So really, we did what we did back then. I bought a book called Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business, and I read up on it, and it basically said, hey, if you want anyone to pay attention to you, you've got to get a lawyer. You got to get an attorney. They'll help you get what you need in the music business. They'll help you get to the record label. No one will talk to anyone if they're not a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. So I started calling around, using the phone book back then, calling entertainment lawyers around Orlando, because none of my, again, I didn't know anybody who knew any. And so maybe I had a parent who had one of my parents' friends might have been a lawyer, and I called them and tried to get a referral. And I had a really hard time getting anyone to take my call because I was 16 years old. I had a voice, hello, I'm trying to get, it sounded super young and inexperienced. And I was really frustrated by the fact that I really just wanted a seat at the table to discuss some things so I could learn, so I could grow, so I could, I knew I probably wasn't ready to be famous at 16. I was going to need to work on my craft and everything else, but I really needed some guidance, some mentoring, and no one would take my call. And so, I eventually found a guy who, he had done the record deals for Matchbox 20, if you remember them, and Rob Thomas back in those days, late 90s. And he was in Orlando, and he took my call, and he gave me some advice, and he was super nice. And funny thing happened, by the way, about 8 or 9 years ago now. I met him. He was in a Bible study. He showed up one day at a Bible study I was in. I was like, you know what? I got to tell you, you're the only dude who took my call. You're a solid dude, and I appreciate it. So funny how the world works. Right. But, it just, that frustration. Then I went off to college, and I was building my businesses, and I was still songwriting. I started managing bands, and, a really funny thing happened. I started getting some contacts, started doing some things, and I worked with some organizations at the University of Florida because they had big budgets to bring in speakers and authors and world leaders. And once I started talking about how I had done some of this stuff for these world leaders, and actually the big shift was My parents told my brother and I they wanted us both to get professions because this was a necessary thing.
To have
we
a
could
profession?
do whatever we wanted else in life, but we needed to get professions. And so we both said no. And my brother's 2 years older than me, and he screws it up and he goes to med school. So I got to do something. So I'm not going to get to med school. So I finished undergrad in 2.5 years in finance, and I went to law school because I could get into law school. And I knew that being in law, I never want to practice law in my life, but I knew that having the degree would probably be helpful in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
And so a really funny thing happened. Once I got into law school, everyone started taking my calls. And nothing had changed about me. And I wasn't calling about law. I was calling about songwriting and bands I was working with. But all of a sudden, I got this amazing amount of respect because I had this different positioning. I wasn't just a kid working with garage bands. I was a kid in law school working with garage bands. And it was fascinating. So things started really changing. And then I reconnected with my mentor who I met in high school. And he had done a ton of work in personal branding and direct marketing. And he sort of shared with me some of the secrets and helped me see, that I had some skill sets that I just took for granted because they came easy to me. I'd worked with some major celebrities and stuff while at the university. And I sort of built, during college and undergrad and law school, I sort of built these bands and I built brands for bands around me sort of on a shoestring budget because we had no money. So I had to be able to compete with Metallica, who's spending $1 million on artwork for their CD, and we had we had $500, and we had to not only record the CD, we had to then do the artwork. We had to get major distribution, but we had to be able to fight for spot in the stores at the time, the CD warehouses and all these stores in order to get noticed. And so I had learned how to create the music videos, and I could sort of create stuff that would stack up against $1 million brands, but we did it on a budget. So he really helped me see those talents that I had, but then to start using personal branding and direct marketing to sort of build a position for myself. So again, then I started doing other things, and obviously these things sort of have a cascading effect. If you're looking at the negative in everyday life, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. If you're looking at the positive in life, it's going to get better and better and better. And so over time, I just started kind of using each thing I had done, first stuff I had done at the university and working with people like George Bush, and we had Gorbachev, and we worked with John Mayer, and I did some of the PR and some of the poster design to get them in, and I worked personally with, the people when Gene Simmons was coming in. And so I then sort of had this resume of things I had done for free, really, to get in the conversation.
Right.
But I started earning a seat at the table, and I started using that position to get to the next level, to get more conversations. And that's sort of really been the rest of my life now. I mean, I've spent the last, we've been in this business. This is our 11th year in business, I think. And we've worked with over 3,000 clients in 36 countries around the world. And I've used my positioning to co-author books, like you said, with Brian Tracy and Jack Canfield and Steve Forbes. And I've interviewed Ivanka Trump. I just did Larry King's life story. I'm currently working with Richard Branson to nail down doing his. And I've worked with, a lot of really amazing people. I just got back I'm doing a documentary right now on an organization that stops sex trafficking all around the world. And we literally just did an overnight raid in Haiti on Thursday night and freed 4 kids out of sex trafficking and arrested a kingpin. I mean, I get into some amazing positions I never would have expected, but all because, I continue to build on my position. And I think at the end of the day, I work really hard to help other people, to make sure that there's an exchange of value. And my whole life is based on exchange of value. I realized from trying to get that seat at the table in the music business at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, that we can, so many people feel like the world owes them something, or you really need to respond to my email, Mr. Attorney, because I need your help. But it's such an easier conversation if you say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Maybe I can do something for you. I don't know exactly what you need, but it's just approaching things with knowing that no one owes you anything, and what can I bring to the table. And so I think that's sort of the basis for the conversation. I guess that's how I got to here, and we can dig into anything you want to dig into.
Well, yeah, there's so many areas I want to dig into because you do so many different things. I mean, you help people get noticed. I mean, you can help them become a bestseller. You can help them, get on TV shows. You can. So now, how are you different than just a PR agency? I mean, what do you call what you do?
Yeah, it's unique, and that's sort of always morphing and changing. We really have been a media marketing and PR firm is really kind of the basis of our agency. I would say at the end of the day, I know what it takes to get anyone to take your call.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got to be able to do what you need to do in order to, to get a deal done or do the work and deliver well. And I mean, there's all those things, but I really figured out sort of the secrets of getting noticed, getting people to take your call, or getting clients to notice you as well. And I work a lot with Dan Sullivan, some people might know from Strategic Coach, an amazing guy. I just finished his movie, and he sort of helped me realize, he talks about unique ability, and your unique ability being, the thing that, you wouldn't even consider retirement. If we really worked this life the way he thinks we're supposed to, and I agree with his philosophy, look, it's not to do something. It's not basically to postpone the life you want until you're 65 and bust your ass to wear yourself out between now and then and have enough money in the bank. It's all about, well, what is it that I really would love to do to my last breath, or until I couldn't do it anymore? And how do I set things up with sort of unique ability, teamwork with people around me, to where if I just help them with what they need, they would help me. So that I really only have to do this one thing that I really love doing. I get more excited by it and more motivated by it every day, and people really need it, and it's something that I get paid better for. I can commercialize it. And what is that? And so I really sort of realized that my unique ability, and kind of stems back from what I learned to do, and then I guess I've honed the craft over the years, is I have conversations that help me and my clients create media that facilitates commerce, create art that facilitates commerce. So we've done stuff with custom paintings and artwork with clients. Obviously, I got into making documentaries, and I've made over 50 docs, and like I said, I've won 5 Emmys for them. We use books for that purpose. We use coffee table books for that purpose. It's sort of like I approach when I do particularly private consulting. It's like, well, what do you want to do and who do you want to reach? I mean, our mission at my agency is to help the most people help the most people. It sounds kind of funny, but it's just like, Dr. Diane, you're on a mission to do something, and I only really work with mission-driven people, entrepreneurs, professionals. You really it can't be just about the money, because we all just run out of steam so fast when it's just about that. We all need it, and we got to make ends meet. I got 3 kids, they're all in Christian school. It costs money. I mean, I got a house to pay for, like going trips, whatever. But it's like, why do you do what you do? And if you have a mission, and you really, why I love working with mission-driven people is because if you wake up today and you don't accomplish that mission, it doesn't mean you're going to quit. You're just going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to pound through that brick wall, brick by brick, till you get there. So I like working with those kind of people, and it's like, what are you trying to accomplish, and who do you need to get on board with this to make it happen? Is it you need these sort of customers and clients? You need these sort of government officials. You need approval to do something. Okay, so let's look at what would catch their attention in a way that no one else is showing up, and help you show up in a super legitimate way that was, that would get their attention and allow you to have that conversation. So I sort of start from that context, and we've done it a bunch of different ways, but we've done it from, again, well, if you want clients to pay attention to you, if you're running a high-end, financial advisory firm, well, okay, well, so I had an opportunity where you could co-author a book with Steve Forbes. Okay, well, that's interesting, certainly in the financial world. People would know that you must be really good at what you do if you're co-authoring a book with Steve Forbes. It's called Successonomics, and in the book they were able to talk about a particular angle on anything in business. But if we're talking about a financial advisor, they're talking about sort of how they approach generational wealth or whatever it is. And so you start showing up differently, and as you do that, you sort of make everyone else look like that really bad sort of used car salesman or lawyer on TV who just sort of barks at you. And it's just sort of like everybody else looks so outclassed that you then get to play the game the way you want to play it. So, hopefully I answered the question, but we can dig into that as far as you want.
No, you did. I recently attended the Genius Network event, and Dan Sullivan was there, and that's actually where I met J.P. Sears, who had told me about his work with you. Now, you guys are doing a mockumentary, I think he said, right?
Yes, and actually at that Genius Network event, we premiered Dan's movie one of the nights there. So yes, I was there too.
Yeah, it was a great event, very interesting. You get to, Tony Robbins, great people are there. And so you're around these amazing people, and you help people get exposure, I guess, with what you do, right? And your company. Now, a lot of people from those kind of events and, the masterminds and the different events, I'm a part of C-suite advisors and different places like that. I'm around a lot of consultants, speakers, authors, right? And there's a lot of those who listen to this show. So that would be the type of people that would come to you and say, I want to get to be on the bestseller list. I want to get on Today's Show. I want to get on whatever. And that's the kind of thing you can help them with. Now, how does it work? I mean, do they sign contracts with you? How does this, do you take percentages?
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
just curious how it all works.
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, we have a lot of offerings that we offer to clients because this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We have sort of group programs of like collaborative bestseller books. We have sort of group TV opportunities where we film in Hollywood. Sometimes we have like Jack Canfield to work with me, do interviews for me. We'll have the Hollywood Live with Jack Canfield or whatever it is. So, and then I also do some private consulting. But here's sort of how I explain what we do to everybody, and you really have to understand how media marketing and PR really work together in order to make sense of what we do and to understand it. So most people would, like, at the beginning, once you hit a certain level in your business and you're gaining some confidence and you know you're helping people and you want to help more people, it becomes a pretty obvious next step. Like, hey, I need more exposure. I need more people to know who I am so that I can do the work I need to do to help more people. So most people think, and it's a common thought, it's like, okay, I really just need to get some PR. So I need to get a local newspaper, I need to get a national newspaper, I need to get a newsletter, I need to get a Wall Street Journal, I need to get on Today's Show, I need to get, and so that's not wrong, but here's the thing that is wrong about it. I've been in a ton of media because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. And I've probably been in over 100 major media sources, and I've only ever gotten, I got one call. I don't want to lie about numbers, but let's just say out of 100, not many calls or emails about anything. Mm-hmm. Because here's the deal. If you're reading the Wall Street Journal or USA Today or you're watching Good Morning America, I mean, how many times have you gone, I mean, you hear great stories, you read from really smart people, read great quotes, but how many times have you said, man, that's brilliant. I'm going to stop everything I'm doing. I'm going to find that person and go work with them. Uh-huh. That's not what we do. Uh-huh. We're watching these things, reading these things for education and entertainment, but we're not seeking out sources for business. Mm-hmm. We might see a commercial or we might see an ad in there that is sort of a pattern interrupt and go, call this guy for this sort of help or free leads or whatever it is. Like, that's people's job to try to get your attention, to get you to do business with them. But that's not, so mass media, those mass media formats, they're really good for two things. And that's credibility and awareness. Right. Neither of those which you can spend or eat. But they're really great for getting into another conversation. So they're really great for being able to say, hey, I have been in USA Today or Wall Street Journal News. I was recently on the Today Show. Like, okay, so somebody was on the Today Show this morning that probably has worked for years to get on the Today Show, cost them thousands and thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in PR firms and everything else. And I don't know about you, but I didn't see him. And neither did a lot of other people, and they're never going to air that episode again. Right. So the best thing you get out of mass media is the credibility of having been on it, and if you can get the clip, is like the game changer, because that really, hopefully they talk to you about what you even do. So I was making a movie on poverty in Mexico a few years ago, and I got a call from the Today Show to come on. I was like super excited. I'm like, oh, because they knew I was a celebrity branding expert. Like, this is going to be awesome. And they wanted me to come on the show because they did some sort of game show with people on the street and they had experts in the studio. And it was Nicolas Cage's birthday. So they wanted all the experts to be named Nick. Oh. Like, well, okay, so, but I couldn't make it because I had to get to Mexico and I couldn't make the flight. So where I could get to New York, do the show, and then get to Mexico the same day. Because I still would have done it just to say that I was on the Today Show. But I can guarantee you it wasn't going to get me a lot of business by being a guy named Nick on Nicolas Cage's birthday doing a men on the street sort of thing.
Right.
So this is just the way this thing works. But credibility and awareness, they are great at. The other side of it is there's direct media. So direct media would be any sort of media that someone creates for the purpose of getting it to people who actually might do business with you. So some simple examples. We all, hopefully everyone on the call is collecting, the very basic, you sort of collect business cards and contacts. You have your own personal list. Online, hopefully you're having people opt in to get you're giving them some reason to opt in, so you're going to keep communicating with them.
Right.
And so, things like a podcast is a direct media format. If you take this podcast and this audio and you send it to the people who signed up for it, either on iTunes or on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have a newsletter list, you send them physical newsletters, and CDs, DVDs, newsletters, flyers, postcards. These are all direct media formats. Direct media is amazing because you can create it to suit your needs. The
Right.
problem with it is it lacks credibility.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I call the secret formula for media success: is taking mass media credentials and credibility and inserting them in your direct media. So when you go out with a sales piece or an email or a newsletter or a magazine or a postcard, it could be something like, "Hey, my name is Nick Nanton. You might have recently seen me in USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, or on CNN, NBC, ABC, Fox. And here's what I'm here to tell you today." Well, they probably didn't see me in any of those because they were here today and gone tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But they're now paying attention. Like, people go, "Man, have I been in a coma? How did I miss this person?" Well, it's because you weren't looking when I was there.
Right.
And so the best thing I can get is utilizing that credibility and then pushing it back out to you and saying, "Hey, here's the deal," or getting a copy of when I was on NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox on Times Square today or whatever, and sending it to a prospect and say, "Hey, I was recently on the show. It aired on all these networks. You might have missed it. In case you did, watch this short 5 to 7 minute interview. I think you'll understand why I do what I do more." And these are all formats of allowing you to tell your story. And I break down branding very simply. A lot of people will charge you as much as you will allow them. They'll do great jobs to help you analyze colors and slogans and logos and all that stuff, which is all great stuff. But I think people miss the first step a lot of times. And branding is simply storytelling, and your brand is simply your story. And media allows you to tell that story, hopefully in an interesting format, so that people can get to know you and why you're different. Because at the end of the day, your story is literally the only thing other people can't copy. I mean, I know a lot of intellectual property law. I've done a fair amount of it, trademarks and patents. And yeah, people can get around it all for the most part. But what they cannot do is copy your story, kind of your heart and soul of why you do things. And that's what allows you to really build a business, and more importantly, a unique business that allows you to charge the rates you want to charge, to be positioned where you want to be positioned, to take the clients you want to take, and not the ones you don't. And it's all because of your positioning and your story. So, so I start with clients, helping them understand the difference between mass media and direct media, and then we just do it for them. We have our own shows. We have a show called Times Square Today that films in Times Square. We have a show called Wall Street Today that films up in New York City. We have Hollywood Live with Jack Canfield. We have a show called Success Today. We've done the Brian Tracy show. We've done a show with Ariel Fordolf. We've done a ton of these things. Michael Gerber hosted a show with us, and we just air them on TV. And they oftentimes they air in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. But it doesn't matter, because even if we paid to air it nationally, people would still miss it. So we execute these things on behalf of our clients, help them get the credibility they need, and the position they need, and the media credentials they need, so they can get into the conversation. And so we do it for them. We do it in a way that's, as long as you understand what we're doing and you're honest about it. So again, if I air you on my show on NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox affiliates, middle of the night, middle of nowhere, you can say, "Hey, I was recently on a show. It was directed by a 5-time Emmy Award-winning director, and it was we filmed in Times Square. It was awesome. It's called Times Square Today, and they interviewed me about my business and why I do what I do, and it ended up airing on NBC and CBS and ABC and Fox affiliates across the country. And in case you missed it, man, I'd love for you to see it. Here's a link to check it out, or here's a DVD, or here's a memory stick with it on there. Check it out. I'd love to have another conversation with you if you feel like we'd be a good fit." But instantly, all of that just positions you in a totally different way than just about anyone else in your community that you would be, quote unquote, competing with. And not to ramble on, but sort of think of it this way. I mean, I've got 3 kids all in sports and dance and whatever it is they're in. Mm-hmm. And when I was at golf not too long ago with my son, and I was talking to another dad, and typically comes up, "What do you do?" And so I told him a little bit about it. I said, "Hey, here's the deal. Give me your card, and I'll send you a package in the mail." We call it a shock and awe box. We get that term from Dan Kennedy. So instead of emailing a link to a website when you meet somebody or someone calls you or whatever, we send physical stuff. So I sent an autographed copy of my Wall Street Journal bestseller story song. I sent a couple copies of DVDs of the movie I made on Peter Diamandis in the first private space flight with will.i.am and Richard Branson and Bill Clinton, and I sent him a copy of a tear sheet of an article I was just in USA Today, and I think I was in Forbes, and all of a sudden, so this guy, I don't even, he probably still can't figure out really quickly exactly what I do, but as we get to know each other and talk, he's going to be marketing for me, because anybody who comes up that mentions the words media or marketing or PR, he's going to be like, look, I know this guy, and he lives here locally, and I mean, I can't really explain to you what he does, but he's written best-selling books. He's worked with, Larry King and Steve Forbes and Jackie Campbell. So, I mean, I could probably introduce you if you want. So all of a sudden, he feels really good about the credibility he could have by introducing me to somebody that he knows, and it's like the warmest prospect lead ever.
Right.
And me and this guy may end up doing some business, but it just, the positioning is just so radically different from anything else that anybody else is doing or looking at. And man, it's just all of a sudden you just show up so differently because of the media and the credibility that we establish for our clients. Again, you got to be able to deliver. You got to be able to do the job. You got to be able to do it well. And you got to be able to do it excellence, not just as good as everybody else.
Right.
You got to be able to do it excellence. But this allows you to have those conversations and get those gigs.
Well, okay, so I mean, I've had different experts on the show who, like Gerhard Schwantner, he'll say on his YouTube site he charges $6,000 to do the video or whatever, if you want to be on that particular video. And so it's not cheap to get on a lot of these things. So you've got the credibility. You probably have to spend quite a bit to get this credibility. And if you're writing a book, you're not making a lot from writing the book. You're because the book itself is more of just another piece. It's your new business card, right? So you got a book. You spent all this money writing a book. You spent all this money getting on TV shows and all this. How do you get the payback at that point? Is it just? I mean, for example, if say you want to be a TV expert or something, you want to be the one they come to, to be more continual. Exposure on TV. How can people pitch this where they're not spending a ton of money and still getting exposure?
Well, so one of the problems is there's the chicken or the egg problem with the TV. So it's really hard to get on TV the first time because they're really worried you're going to suck.
Yeah.
So they don't want that. And so
right.
What we do with our clients, we give them the chicken and the egg. We give you the interview. When you have already some footage and you can say you've been on NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, and here's a sample interview, well, all of a sudden you've been vetted already. So you'll get more, it's easier to get more pickup. But I think there's a better question, there's a different question that gives you a better result.
Okay.
And that is, what do I need to do? Look, at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to, what are you doing to market and grow your business? And so it all comes down to marketing. I can give you all the media and exposure in the world, and if you don't know how to regularly and continually market for business, it ain't going to work. I mean, I have so many clients who sadly who have tried to help them, but they'll become a best-selling author, sometimes multiple times over, and essentially all the books are sitting in their closet. Because if you don't get out there and give some books away, so you make money by having a book, not by selling a book. That's number one. Right. And I made my first 7 figures in business by giving away 1,000 books, traveling around the country, speaking at events that were already happening for free, giving away books, and and pitching my services so people would hire me. And so you have to. So that's one method of marketing, speaking at events, speaking and selling. Certainly email marketing is a big deal. Direct mail is a big deal. I mean, Facebook marketing is a big deal. But you got to know. So I have a lecture I've done for years called, Building Your Business Empire. And there's sort of 3 pillars to this. One is positioning. We talked about that. So you got to position yourself so you're different than everybody else. So, and by utilizing your personality and other things, you can position yourself differently. So positioning is a big piece. Credibility, we just talked about utilizing media to get credentials. And then community. So community, the concept of building a community is not new. But you build a community through, email and through direct mail and through Facebook groups and all that stuff. And the whole thing about it is you're building a community of people who are within the realm of people who do business with you. And you have to continually nurture those people with content, share things with them. And when the time comes, they're going to do business with you. They're going to pick you because you've been their friend in the business. You've been building a relationship with them for days, weeks, months, or years. I mean, it's sort of like, I when I'm in rooms, sometimes I speak to rooms of, let's say a couple thousand people, and I'll say, well, how many of you are looking to buy a car in the next week? And you might have one or two people. How many are looking to buy in the next year? Some more hands go up. How many in the next 3 to 5 years? And most everyone's hands will go up. And so the problem is most of us, we do the marketing today, and we get frustrated that not everyone bought, not realizing that there's a continuum. Dan Kennedy again calls it a moving parade. Life is a moving parade. And so people notice things when they're ready to see it. Like when they're ready to see it, it appears. But just because you're ready to show it to them doesn't mean that's when it's going to show up. And
right.
so you've got to be, you have to be willing and able to constantly market, but by doing so, you got to constantly communicate with your audience in a way that is that's interesting, because you have to communicate a lot and teach a lot and share a lot. And once you do that, then you're able to, then they'll listen to you and they will pay attention to what you're offering, what you're marketing. And when they're ready, they will purchase those services. So again, I think the real secret to the whole deal is marketing. I mean, the positioning and the credibility you need to have, but most importantly, you need to create a system for continually creating community and nurturing people around you.
So a lot of the people listening here are probably wondering, how much do they need to spend, before they start making? You know what I mean? Is it going to take a long time to get to the point where they've built the credibility, where they're not just, writing books, doing things, where they're not getting the return yet? Well,
here's the deal. I mean, I think I look at it like, the more credibility you have, the easier it is. But it's a continuum. I mean, if you're looking to get there tomorrow, look, again, I'll quote Dan Kennedy again. He says, money buys speed. Yeah, you can certainly spend a lot and get it all quicker, but just work with what you've got. I mean, even if you start writing your book today and put a title to it, and you add to your bio that you're the author of the forthcoming book, XYZ, you now have more credibility than you had an hour ago, because you're now an author of a forthcoming book.
Yeah, right.
So it's use what you've got. I mean, don't. So I hate the mentality of like, I'm waiting for this to happen. I mean, it's not a good philosophy.
Right.
Work with what you've got today. Do the best with what you've got, and just start building one day at a time. And it's so much easier to go, I'm just going to wait till this happens. But it typically never happens. You just got to start. And so I just would encourage people to do that, and just, you can do things for free if you sort of learn the ropes, read the books on PR and figure out how to do it and how to get people's attention. Or you can hire a firm like mine, and we do it all the time, and you can get it much quicker. But it's going to cost you some money, but what's the opportunity cost of the time saved and not having to learn how to figure it out and be a chance. And look, I've been on both sides of that spectrum many different times in my life. I'm not putting either side down. It's just different.
Right.
And so, you could do it yourself. I mean, I did all this stuff myself. That's how I figured out how to do it, and then I offered it to clients. And they, there's plenty of people who would like to use money to buy speed. And so, don't wait, just start doing it.
Well, when you talk about doing things yourself, what do you think about self-publishing versus getting a publisher? What's your advice on that one?
It's a very similar discussion to a lot of the other stuff we've been talking about. It's like, sort of, what's the goal? There is some massive credibility in being published by a major publisher, but you're hamstrung in so many ways too. I mean, the books will cost you a fortune. They take 2 to 3 years to get your book actually out into the marketplace, which doesn't do you much good. Self-publishing, the problem is a lot of people don't know how to publish a good book. They don't know what makes a good book. It looks and feels like garbage because they just used a Create Space and didn't really kind of know what they were doing. Not that you can't publish good books on Create Space, but there's sort of an art to making a nice looking and feeling book, from fonts to spacing to page count and margins, all that sort of stuff. And so, but either one can work for you. And so we own a publishing company, and I'd call it a hybrid. I mean, people pay us to publish their books, so it's sort of a self-publishing model, but we have major distribution, and we handle everything for you. We know what we're doing, so we're going to give you a great looking book in the marketplace with distribution, but you're going to hire us to provide that service. But at the same time, you will be published by a company that's published Brian Tracy and Steve Forbes and Jack Canfield and Richard Branson and everybody else, and Larry King. So it's sort of a hybrid model. So I really like the space we're in because we're sort of in the middle. I think we have the best of both worlds. But either one of those other models can work for you. You just have to know. You have to know the weaknesses and the strengths of them, and not just expect I think most people just are searching for this one person who can change their life. It's been the same in the record business. Like, I got to find this record exec to sign me to a record deal. I'm just going to keep doing what I do and wait for that to happen. Same thing with the book publishing business, same thing with the TV business. We're all looking for this one guy behind the desk who can change our lives. And it's just a long way to go about it, I think, because it so rarely happens. And instead, why don't we, when I work with musicians, when I work with art, why don't we start building the business of you, utilizing your unique ability and start getting you paid now. And when it makes sense for that record label or for that publisher to become a business partner, trust me, they'll show up. When the time is right. I mean, like JP you talked about, JP is hot right now on Facebook and everything else. Great. I mean, trust me, he didn't have to go out searching for publishers. I mean, people are when you are hitting your stride, everyone appears out of the woodwork. Right. So, because at that point, you're a good business partner. You're a good business partner, and you build your business. And so, other than that, if you were lucky enough, we'll call it, to get a deal before that time, no matter what, you're going to give away way more than you should because you don't have the bargaining power, the leverage, or the clout to get what you really deserve because you haven't built it yet. And so you're sort of going to get, you're sort of getting lucky, and you're going to get a little bit instead of taking the time and not taking the shortcut, taking the time to build into where this makes sense for all parties, so it's a fair deal.
Well, you're talking about a lot of different things that, we've got authors of books, we've got different kinds of things, and I get a lot of people who listen who have their own podcasts. They want to have their own podcasts, and a lot of them have difficulty getting sponsors because it's hard to prove ROI, or iTunes doesn't give data. What advice do you give people who want to get sponsors? Do you get into that area at all?
Yeah, I mean, so it's just an exchange of value. So what value can I provide somebody? Because you have something, they have something that you want. You want their money. You want a sponsor. Right. What do you have that they want? And so if it's not data and metrics, okay, well, can I make some marketing videos for them? Because that's what I do all in my main business. Like, what can I do that gives them value so they can get something they need and they want to give me what I want? And that's the never-ending question with everyone you deal with. So how do I give them something that they want to get what I want? And it's just, it's the same question all the time.
And what about TEDx Talks? Do you do help with that?
Yeah, looking at people, we have a full